I had starting trouble.
Well, that I think you came on pretty quick.
Oh, oh,
How are
how are you?
you? I'm good, and how are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well,
What's
welcome everyone to Parent Plug-in. I can see butterflies. You can tell me what, because I've really, unless I've got on my dodgy glasses to see what actually it says. What's butterflies with rainbows? I should know this. Like them.
I do. I like it very
Good.
much. Hmm.
Wow. So today, Parent Plug-in. Welcome to anyone that's joining us for the first time. We are the Gifted. We do this every Monday, although we're thinking of changing it to more podcasts, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
So us sitting around the table, having our conversation in person, rather than you in one house, me in another.
That's right. That's right. And I think it'll I think also because when we're together, I think we vibe just different.
Yeah.
And it's the banter's different and the conversations I think get a little bit more real.
Really more real than it does when we're live.
Yeah,
We vibe all the
yeah, we
time.
do. Yeah,
But
yeah.
and we banter all the time.
We do. But I do think the face to face interaction is so much different.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know. Maybe we'll see.
Well, talking of vibing, today we are talking about the conversations parents are having with their children, right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Conversations with kids. Yeah.
So um, I think it will be really interesting to look at it from both angles because your kids are, you've got like a preteen, right? And a younger child. I've got a teen
Mm.
and younger ones. So it'd be quite interesting to see like what the conversation looks like when they are, let's say, um, under the age of 11.
Okay.
They get into secondary school. So when they're in their primary school age, and
Mm.
then conversations look like when they get slightly older. And I suppose we can then think about when we're young adults. So that whole transitioning of the conversations that we had with our parents and how it compares to today.
And did you actually converse with your parents?
Yeah, I did.
Did you? Oh, you're so lucky.
Oh no, I think one of the conversations, one of the like most difficult conversations that I had, and I still say it now with my dad. I don't know if it was a conversation or whether it was him just telling me his
Mm.
fact, what he believed was his facts. And I don't know if I've shared this with you before, but because my father passed away when I was really quite young,
Mm.
um, it's it makes me realize how old I was when he said this to me.
Oh, okay.
So he passed away when I was just before my 12th
Right.
birthday.
Right.
So I would have been around 10 when he said this to me, or 11. And he said, so I've got three older brothers, right? I'm the only girl. And he said to me that as an only girl, as a girl, and as a black woman, I am going to have to work twice as hard than everybody else to be successful.
Okay.
And I was like, it's not, it wasn't a conversation that I received well. I was
Yeah.
quite upset about it and I felt a bit of an injustice about it. I felt like, why would you say that to me? That's just so unfair. Of course, as I get older, as I've got older, it's um the reality of that is true.
Okay.
And the reality is that there is a glass ceiling for women in the workplace.
Mm.
Um, the reality is that there is this systemic racism that exists that we don't often talk about. And I think as a British culture, we don't often talk about it as much. We kind of like, I think I had grown up to accept that I was going to have to work hard.
Right.
It wasn't something that I was given the tools to challenge it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's quite a difficult conversation even for me to share now
Mm.
back,
Okay.
but
So,
hard to hear as a child.
okay, so my question is, right, because you hear a lot of parents having these kinds of conversations with their kids. Right? So my question is, if that seed wasn't planted in your head,
Mm.
would you have seen life differently? Would you have experienced life differently? Because sometimes when people say things to us, it kind of drills into our subconscious without us realizing. And then no matter what happens, we kind of feel it, we experience it. It's almost like we're made to look at it from that perspective.
Yeah, and that's really difficult to answer because I think that it resonated more as an
Mm.
adult than it did. I think it resonates more and probably now than it did at any other point in my life.
Yeah.
Um, and maybe I took a lot for granted,
Mm.
not even appreciating how hard I've had to work and how hard I work,
Mm.
because it's just what you do. It was
Yeah.
literally, this is what you do.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. So, but that's what I'm saying. So for me,
It would have,
it's we didn't, if dad hadn't said that to you, would you have experienced life
I
differently?
probably wouldn't have worked as hard.
Yeah. And you may not have felt
The need,
what you felt.
yeah, and I might not have felt the need to work so hard. And then I might not have understood the reasons behind maybe that disparity, the injustice. I might not have felt understood. Why is it that I don't get the jobs? Why is it that people say things like, "Oh, I'm quite surprised at how well you speak," or uh, "Why is do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?"
I do.
There's a whole load of things that I probably wouldn't have understood
Mm.
had I not had that kind of that had yeah had I not had that
Yeah, yeah.
conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the thing. This is why I asked the question, right? So growing up in Australia, and I've said this to you before, like I experienced racism when I was little, but
Mm,
right now, if my parents had had a conversation similar to the one that I had with
yeah.
me, and said, "Oh, it's not fair out there," blah blah blah, right? I would have taken things personally.
Mm,
And I still remember this, and it was I was in high school, and we were on the train, me and my girlfriends, and my little brother was there, and there was a couple, right, sitting on the train, and they turned around to me, exactly what you said about speaking. They said, "Oh, you speak rather well," and I'm like, "Yeah, I know, right? Check me out." Oblivious as to what
what
she,
that means.
right? She may not have even meant anything by it. Right?
Mm,
But if someone had said that to my parents said that to me, be careful because people are racist and they will look at you a certain way or blah blah blah. I would honestly would have had that on my shoulder
mm,
growing up. No matter who said what to me, I'd be like, "Are you being racist to me? Are you being racist?
mm,
Do you mean it's planting a seed that may not needed to have been there?"
yeah,
Um, but then I guess it's also this is what's been done generation to the next generation, right? So why am I suddenly going to change it now?
Yeah. And also I wonder, like, what generation of immigrants are your parents in Australia? Were they first? Were they first? Same here for my parents coming to the UK. So I wonder for them if it was kind of, they've come to this country knowing that they were going to have to work incredibly hard. They came here with an expectation that there would be discrimination. Like perhaps they heard about the fact that um, you won't be as well received everywhere. And remembering that my parents were in the UK at a time when renting property would be so difficult because on the doors it would say things like no blacks, no Irish, no dogs.
Wow.
So having been aware of that experience, that that's what they're coming to,
Right.
uh,
Yeah.
they probably just knew it's going to be hard for us.
Yeah.
But they probably thought, I've got to prepare you and let you know that it's going to be hard for you. I
Mm,
honestly tell you that I'm having a conversation with my
mm,
children to say that it's going to be hard for them. I don't think I've had that same conversation with my kids.
mm.
And I've got three
Yeah.
girls to say that you're going to have to work twice as hard as
Yeah.
everybody else.
No, look, it's, I think for me, it's not a conversation that I had, that my parents had with me,
Mm.
or the only conversation I remember my dad ever having with me was, this is many years ago. This is when I was in my early 20s, right? So it was a long time ago, and and I came, long-term relationship. It
Yeah.
had ended, and um, and I remember my dad had called me 6 months later, Kemi. This was 6 months later, yeah. Okay, and and I sat down, and my dad's like, oh, just come to the kitchen. Come to the kitchen. I want to talk to you, right? So I sat down, and I'm like, yes, Pa. And he's like, I knew where that relationship was going when you first brought him in. Okay. And he's like, but there's no point telling you because you wouldn't have listened to me.
Oh.
Right. And that's something that I loved about that is something that I love about my
Mm,
dad. Like regardless of what he knows from what he has seen, he will sit back and allow me to go through and experience it.
mm,
20 years ago, right? And he's always been that person. He'll be there to pick me up, but
mhm.
he won't. He'll just, no, you go do what you have to do, and then when you need me, I'll be back.
Oh, that's a nice thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think, and I didn't appreciate it at that time because I'm like, dude, you could have saved me 3 years of my life, right? But now I appreciate it because there's so many things about the way my parents were when I was growing up, although they were very absent because, like you said, first immigrants, they've worked twice as hard because you don't have that family to fall back on, right? So, but the values and the morals that they unintentionally gave me, like
Mm,
I appreciate that, like the unintentional words. So now, when I'm now being a parent of two, like you said,
mm,
he's 13, she's going to be 10. I, I think in some ways I kind of parent the way they do.
mm,
I'm here to pick you up,
mm.
but I'm going to allow you to do what you have to do.
Yeah.
You've got to learn.
Mm,
You've got to, right? It's scary, and I guess it is a cultural. It is. I think the difference is, right, Kemi. It's just the way they're perceived by the world.
mm,
And I think that's the most uncomfortable conversation to have.
mm. Uh, you mean like the conversation about how they were perceived,
Yeah,
their experience, those painful experiences of dealing with racism, dealing with the prejudice. being assaulted, if that is their story. And for a lot of I'm hearing from people that they've had those experiences, and that so they know what it's like. um and it's a different experience. It's a different conversation when you can really talk about that experience, and you don't want your child to have, like, what would you call it, not hatred, but this kind of heaviness of feeling so aggrieved that it hampers their progression and their success.
Yeah. Yeah. But we've also got to be that parent that they come to,
Mm.
you know, because a lot of the times, I mean, even in what we do, the schools that we go into, right? How often do you find that those kids actually their parent?
Mm.
You know, more often than not.
Yeah.
You know,
Mm.
I think that's hardest
Oh
part.
my goodness, yeah. Do you know what? This is so interesting you said that, because just before the show I was going through a lot of the booklets, the workbook that that the young people
Yeah.
fill out. We do our sessions. And so we was in one school. We had 32 young people referred to our program
Mm-hmm.
over since October.
Mm.
We've been working with these students, and our Flying Start project is mainly about stress management. It goes into a bit about stress. So a bit of let's talk. Okay, so a survey was done in Broxbourne, one of the areas that we work in. It was that the three main things that concern young people is, the first is future prospects, the second was schoolwork, and the third was appearance.
Right.
So you looking through the books, you see things like, one of the questions was, what does success look like
Mm-hmm.
for you? And success, one of the students wrote, success is making my parents proud.
Mm.
um, which is, it's nice, but it's also quite like, oh, because because that's where that child is getting their validation from.
Mm-hmm.
And do parents realize that how emotionally
Mm.
dependent young people are on them?
Yeah.
And the other thing that I found interesting was, in the survey, it was about 73% of the young people asked, 73% of the young people
Mm.
who completed the survey said that they get their emotional support from their parents. Now, we do this we've got this exercise called circle of
Yeah.
support.
Yeah.
And in that circle, every single time, the people that they said that they go to for help,
Mm.
100% mum and dad,
Mm.
parents,
Mm.
which I believe is just like, do we know this?
Mm.
Do we really know that our teenagers are dependent on us? They don't go to their friends so much. We think that they're all over social media. We
Mm.
think that they're actually coming to us as parents for emotional support. And we're always talking about, you can't pour from an empty cup. It's so important for parent self-care. And I think seeing that data, those statistics really emphasizes how we're not just about, parents are not just about food and water. There's so much, like, we have to give in terms of that emotional, mental well-being.
Yeah, absolutely. Uh, absolutely right. And I think it's not just our kids, it's for everybody that's around us, everyone that socializes with us. But it I think you're right. I don't think parents understand. You know, when I've worked with parents, a lot of the times they're so disconnected from their emotions, so therefore they struggle to relate to the child emotionally.
Or
Mm.
also that whole being so distracted and also distracted but overwhelmed.
Yes.
So how many parents are all in social media? So maybe we're sitting there. Let's not put it as like, I'm the perfect or you're the perfect parent. But although there's nothing wrong with perfection, we said that last week. But we're sitting there and we're on our social media, engrossed, just enjoying that moment. And our child comes and with this long story or a demand or a need, and you're like, what on earth?
Mm.
Can't I have 1 minute?
Yeah.
But literally, we should be lapping that up.
Mm.
Knowing what we know now, it's like lap it up. If your child is coming to you,
Mm.
wanting to talk about something that you just think is boring, ridiculous,
Mm.
not a, we still need to be present.
Yeah. Yeah, we do. And we don't well, look, I think it's easier for kids than it is for us, right? So for us, it's even though it's mundane stuff, things need to get done, otherwise the child goes without, right? Food and water, things need to get done. Food needs to still go in the oven if it's going in the oven, or it needs to be cooked and it needs to be bought, right? Even though these are mundane things, these are still a parent's responsibility. Um, you know, so the stress of a parent, um, it can be overwhelming, you know, and if you aren't the emotionally connected sort, you're not rational about your behavior. A lot of times when we're when we're emotionally disconnected from ourselves, our behavior is our behavior comes across in ways that is unhealthy. Right? So you're lashing out, you're shouting because you can't comprehend why you're feeling the way you are feeling, right? And then that leaves the child in a rut as well, because now the child thinks, oh, when you're emotionally disturbed, this is the way to behave. So when the child is behaving the same manner and the way the parent is behaving, now you've got two unhappy, unhealthy people. Right? So no one's really communicating. And when you're disconnected emotionally, there is no verbal communication.
Yeah.
There is, oh, mum, I really feel sad because X, Y, and Z happened. Right? Or I can't look at my daughter and say, Mira, I didn't sleep very well. I'm really sorry, but, I feel really cranky today. Right? There is no communication. So all you're doing to each other is just shouting at each other.
So what you're saying is that as parents, there has to be a real sense of self-awareness, connecting with ourselves to know, really to be able to articulate and express what we're feeling in that moment.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
interesting. I feel like we're doing a kind of flying start tutorial here, because my head has just been in the books, right? So one of the other things that we do with the young people is we start off with do you remember there's that page that's got all my feelings and emotions?
Yeah.
So it goes from the A to Z of all the different words to describe our feelings and our
Yes,
emotions.
yes, I like that page. Yeah,
I
I like
thought you would. You'd like that page, wouldn't you? Because it's a bit of you in the sense there's not much thinking. No, I don't mean it like that. I mean it like
oh, that was priceless.
oh,
Go on. I'm listening.
I think it's written in black and white. That's what I meant to say. You don't have to overthink.
Rainbows thing. She's hilarious. She's loving it. Go on. Go on. So the words A to Z, yeah.
Yeah, so there's like words that you wouldn't really, I don't think we would use in our everyday vocabulary,
Yes.
but they can really, they're really expressive.
Mm-hmm.
What you've told me is really a lot. You know, I feel so alarmed by what you've told me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's something that we would we would use, and maybe some of them I'd have to look up in terms of what is the difference between. Um, do you feel that they've alienated you at school?
Oh, I like that one.
You know, are you feeling? I think tomorrow when you go to school, do you think you'll be feeling courageous about confronting that group?
Oh, well, I like that one too.
It's good ones, aren't they?
But for me, I think that page is so important because it really enables one to develop a greater understanding
Yeah.
of emotions,
Yeah.
right? It's because you can have one word, and this is why we have synonyms, right? You can have one word, but you can have it in such a wide expansion to express similar,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
And that's why I like that page so much, because it really does allow you to use the right word for the right situation,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
you are alienated,
Yeah.
singled out. You are being alienated, right?
Yeah.
Because people are looking at you like there is something wrong with you,
Mm.
right? And then when you do go and confront the big bad wolf, I am feeling courageous.
Like, two extremes in that short in 1 week.
Yeah, absolutely right. But it is, yeah, no, but it is one of my favorite um pages in that workbook. It,
Yeah.
and I think it really does. Like I said, I think for me, it really does allow you to express yourself verbally, and
Yeah.
especially when you have the understanding of the emotions, but
Mm.
have the vocabulary for it,
Yeah.
right?
Which is often the way, isn't it? There's a feeling, but how do you express that feeling?
Mm.
So someone had circled uneasy.
Oh,
Mm.
oh, that's powerful.
That is powerful, isn't
Yeah.
it? To express like, how are you feeling about that?
Mm.
I feel uneasy. So it could, and without knowing the full context, but um, on the same page, on the same day, they've gone from the emotions was eager, exasperated, and uneasy.
Exasperated.
It's like you can tell the story in that moment of, right, so are you eager to deal with this? Yeah, I'm eager, but I'm feeling so exasperated at the fact that I've had to deal with this so long.
Mm. Mm.
Are you ready to go there tomorrow and just tell them what for? I'm actually quite uneasy about it.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's like having that conversation
Mm.
with your child and getting them to really unpack all of those feelings and get out there. And it's not that we have to solve the problem
Mm.
for them, just enabling them to just share.
Mm. Yeah. And a lot of the times, they don't actually want us to do anything. They
Yeah.
to know that you're there,
Mm. Yeah.
you know, and that's powerful in itself. It's just the knowing
Mm.
that you have my back,
Yeah.
you know, and I guess I think growing up, like I'm a girl. I am a girl. Well,
Are you?
oh, so special. Right. Anyway, but I've got two older brothers, but I've also got first cousins, and they're all boys, right? So the six of us kind of grew up in one, not under the same roof. We grew up together. But I always knew that if ever, they'd always have my back.
Mm,
Yeah, and that is such a powerful feeling to have.
mm,
Know that I don't need to test it, and I didn't ever test it out.
mm,
But it's just the knowing
yeah.
they are there.
Mm, mm,
Do you know what I mean? And I think that's also, and I think for me being a mum, I think that's so important for my kids,
mm,
for my kids to know that about me.
yeah.
Just know if it comes to it, I will be there.
Yeah. Mm,
And
yeah.
and that's all yeah, that's all they need to know.
Mm,
Got me. You understand me.
yeah.
I don't care about anybody else, but you understand me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's nice. It's good. It's
Yeah.
a real powerful um, connection to have with children, your kids, to be able to, and for them to know.
Yes, that's right. But even for us, I mean, even when you think about relationships and things like that, um,
For years. So I need to put my glasses on, or have you got this?
shall I read it? Okay. So Butterflies with Rainbows just said, I grew up with disconnected parents, longing to have conversations with them. I never want my children to have that longing. So engage with them, talk to them, talk about everything and anything. That's what she said. Yeah.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah. And I think when you come from that place of lack
Mm,
is when you want to give.
yeah, that's true. And I think also, not even just, maybe also, I might even challenge that, because I feel that um, there was a part maybe at the beginning of this year, feeling overwhelmed and just like it's a lot to pack in. And I don't know if I've shared this before, and did this anal task of mapping out my day from morning 6 o'clock in the morning
Mm.
to 9 o'clock at night, and then I put it on my fridge, and my daughter comes back and she's like, huh? Half an hour with me at the end of the day? What are we going to be talking about for half an hour?
Guessing this is the older one because it sounds like
Hold on. I
yeah, go on.
was like, Carmen, but do you want to talk to me when I find you annoying? When I'm like, I'm ready for bed. I'm not prepared to talk to you. Is that when you want to talk to me? But when I factor you in and say between this time and that time, me and you are gonna have mummy and daughter time. You're like, are you joking? You can forget that.
Oh yeah, yeah, because she wants to be there 24/7.
Yeah.
Like you,
Oh no, or she wants to do it on her terms.
that's right.
Yeah, I think it's got to be on my terms. Not like you're not gonna like the fact that you've given me 30 minutes at the end of the day is not sufficient. It's not good
Yeah.
enough. But I'm gonna tell you when I want to talk to you, and if
Yes.
I want to talk to
Mm.
you.
Yeah. So mine know that meal times are like we kind of congregate in the kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
So before school, like breakfast or lunch, dinner, whenever it is, we're in the kitchen, and that's when we kind of chit chat. There's no gadgets anywhere, right? And bedtime.
Okay.
And my son will not leave me alone. No, 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 no. You got 5 more minutes on my bed. No, 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 no. Another 2 minutes, and I'm like, oh my god, just leave me alone. But what I find is that is the only time him and I get together.
Yeah.
Right. Even at that point, his little sister is still listening to our conversation.
Yeah. Mm.
He's always listening.
But it's so important, isn't it? Like, you know, to be intentional and factor in the time is really good.
Mm.
And thinking about when Wayne from Team Fitness was on the show, he was saying like doing active things with our children as well. And I know a lot of us are living in locations where we're not on the doorstep of our school. So there's a lot of driving to school, and I suppose in the car we can have those moments of conversations as well. But also just evening weekend walks. I'm not a big walker, but I should be as big as a house. But I should be, because I literally, as you know from that week, is that I still haven't gone to the gym. I did say I'd try. Just stop trying hard enough. Just stop trying. Just do it. Anyway, what about
Thinking.
but the actual doing those kind of things, being active and walking and talking with your kids, doing those things, that making it an intentional part of the day. I love that you do it in the kitchen. You make it a point of no devices at mealtime.
Yeah. Because otherwise I feel like I don't get any time with them, Kemi. You know, and it's and you know me, like I love having a chit chat and I love having a laugh and a giggle. Like I think that kind of sums who I am up, really. You know, and when I can't share that with the two most beautiful people in my life, that kind of upsets me. And also because, you know, the whole thing of, oh, they're teenagers, you know, they're always stuck in their rooms. Like, it's like, dude, yeah, I know this is what society's created a teenager to be, but it doesn't necessarily have to be true.
Yeah.
Right. So for me, it's just, this is the only time, and I just make it a point to say no, no,
Yeah.
no, 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 my time now.
Yeah.
But don't get me wrong. I mean, he plays his you know, little gaming devices and stuff, and he'll sit in his room. But I'll still go in and have a kiss and a cuddle and embarrass him while he's online with his friends. You know, like, because it's otherwise, you know, that sense of feeling disconnected. I think that hurts a lot. You know, and yeah, I guess also it comes from the fact that I'm here on my own. So, you know, my kids are it for me, you know.
Yeah. And I think also when if our children grow up in a home where they are disconnected and disconnected, how well will they be able to relate to others in the real world outside the family environment? How will they be able to forge those? How well will they be able to forge those connections? Yeah, I think I don't know if you remember. There was one session where we talked about we talked to the young girls, about the young women, about advocating for themselves, and one of them in the group just seemed like she was quite connected to her parents, right? I don't know if you got that sense.
Yeah.
But when you spoke to her about transferring those skills and speaking to her teachers about her concerns, it was completely like shut down. Like this confident like, person that was talking in the group and sharing what's going on for her.
Yeah.
When it was like, okay, channel that, go and share this with it was like, no, don't do that.
Yeah.
Talk to us. You can talk home. But when it comes to talking to your teacher and getting and just, you struggle.
Yeah. lot of them do. More often than not, those kids do struggle. You know, that particular group that we were in last term, you know, that every year group that we dealt with.
Mm.
Nah, not going to my teacher. Nah, not going to her. Not going to him. And I'm like, but this is why they're there. This is the reason
Yeah.
why people exist. And nah, they don't listen.
Do you know what? I remember one school where we spoke to in. I said to one of the young people, and I helped them write a letter. So it's like, okay, let's put. You don't want to talk to them. Let's put it in writing. Let's write this letter. Let's write this letter. And like afterwards, giving the school the feedback of what we did in the session, one of the teacher's face was like this, like it's like her eyes popped out like, oh, what? They're writing a letter, and I'm like, yeah. But then when we came back the following week and said, how's it going? What's happened? She's like, yeah, I've got a meeting. We've got a meeting set up where, my parents are coming in, da 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 da. So it ended up being, and I think the young people have to realise the amount of control that they have, the amount of control we have as individuals, that we can advocate for the things that we can create change in an environment, in
Yeah.
our life, work things out if we use our
Yeah.
voice. And if we can't, if we're not teaching young people at that age to do that, they're never going to be able to do it as adults.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ever. Maybe that's a bit of a thing, but they'll find it really difficult to do it as
Yeah.
adults.
Also, if they see you as the parent that doesn't advocate for your own happiness or your own well-being,
Mm.
you're not going to grow up. Oh, unless you grow up and be the opposite like me. Like I watched my mom, and I'm like, hell no. I'm like, no, thank you. Right? And I set my boundaries. I set boundaries without even understanding what boundaries were at that time, right? And I was like, no, I'm not going through what my mom went through.
I've got a question
Yes.
that I'd like to see.
Oh,
The question is, how would you
mm.
feel if your daughter said, I just want to be like you when I'm older?
I feel sorry for the society that she's got to be a part of.
Stop it. Oh, that's ridiculous. How could you say that? If I said that, you would literally come at me and say, oh, come on,
Yeah,
girl.
of course, I would come at you, at Kemi, and say, "Why do you speak about yourself like
But,
that?" But I speak about myself like that, right? And I'll explain why, because I was always the outcast. I was always the rebel,
mm,
right? So if Mira turned around and said, "Amma, I just want to be like you. I want to be just like you," I'd be like, "Yeah, all right." Just be prepared to be the alien in the room.
but that's probably not what she says.
Of course she doesn't.
Yeah, so it's a bit like, wouldn't you be intrigued as to like, what is it you're seeing that you want to emulate? You want to be like? You want to copy me? What is it?
That's a question you need to ask her. If she was here, she would come on and say, Auntie Kemi, well,
Well, first of all, she's got to say that she wants to be like you. No point in asking the question, but I never said that. I don't think that. I don't want that.
like, how embarrassing would that be?
Exactly. We just assumed. Oh, don't worry. Not a problem for the universe.
Exactly, right? It's like, dude, ain't mine, it's hers. Uh, but I think for me, I think regardless of what the child wants to be, I think you still have to be you.
Yeah, you want them to have their own identity and
Exactly.
stuff.
Exactly. Because I've seen women that worship the ground that their mother walks on. And
Mm,
I tell you, Kemi, it's to a T, right? That they dress like them, they speak like them, they want to look like them. But it's almost like you've incorporated, you've merged into somebody that's already that already exists.
mm,
But
mm,
you've got no um you've got there's no substance of your own.
mm,
Who are you?
mm, mm,
do, do you know what I mean? And when I see when I've seen women like that, you don't see men like that, right? You see women like that. When I've seen women like that, and I'm like, I kind of feel sorry for you, really. You know, and maybe okay. And I tell you why. I think I'm so one for being who you are, your authentic self, right? So when I see somebody like that, I think, well, don't come at me when you don't even know who you are.
mm, mm,
Do you know what I mean? It's just, yeah. So I think for that reason, I would, I would, I would discourage Mira not to be like me. I'd be like, dude, you
mm, mm.
already has one crazy. They don't need another.
You're not crazy. And you know, the funny thing, it's this funny, I don't know, maybe I find it funny, but it's more of an interesting story. And I'm glad I said it. I'm going to say it towards the end of our show. So anyone that hears this would have had to have listened to the whole thing.
Yeah.
So, an interesting thing is in a therapy session,
Hmm.
I had said something like, um, how many showing up as your authentic self? It's like it's so important to me to
Hmm.
be authentic. So around my friends, and I think you get this as well,
Mm.
I will share a lot of the challenges that I'm experiencing. It's like, yeah, I know how important it is for me personally to show up every day.
Yeah.
But in showing up, what you see is what you see, but there's loads of other stuff that's going on, and I will probably just like let it all out there, and you will see all the stuff that's going on, right?
Mm.
I was like, yeah, and I feel that not a lot of people do that.
Mm.
But for me, at least what you're seeing is the authentic
Yeah.
person, the authentic person. And he said, like, yeah, yeah, you and every other person has that viewpoint. Like, come on, it's not unusual. And I was like, yeah, I think what you're saying is me and every other person in therapy has that viewpoint. The people that are like not authentic and then just like living their life,
Mm.
um, showing up with a pretense are probably the ones that are not in therapy.
True that.
And he was like, yeah, you're right. A lot of people, a lot of my clients have that viewpoint.
Yeah.
I think, in the sense of, I suppose, where am I going with this and how does this relate to parenting? I think it is, we cannot underestimate how challenging it is to
Mm.
show up every day
Mm.
with the scars, the work, knowing the work that we're
Yeah.
doing and sharing the work that we're
Yeah.
doing and being authentic about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It is so incredibly, I don't think we should underestimate the work and the effort that it
Yeah.
takes. So if our children ever do say, when I get older, I want to be like you,
Mm.
I think it's something that we should um, give them credit for, because that means you want to be authentic.
Mm.
That means you want to be real,
Mm.
and you're ready to do the work that it takes to be that person.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess they've got to see it for real life first, right? They've got to
Mm,
see you go through all of that and come out on the other side, or see you live it every day and still show up.
mm,
Now, I had a friend of mine today, and I said to him, I said, how did I look? Right? Because clearly at the moment it's all about the weight. Right? And he looked at me and he said, you looked fed up. You look like you just had enough. And I looked at him and I thought, damn it, that's not the answer that I was looking for. I said, no, dude, simplify this. Let's just talk about this.
that was not the outfit I put on this morning. Today I'm gonna wear fed up, and I'm
And I just looked at him and he's like, oh, you weren't going for the emotional side of life then. And I was like, hell no, I wasn't. Right. But like you said, I think it's so important to have people like that in our life because they see you as you are. It's
yeah,
not about the persona. It is looking at you and saying, you good?
mm,
It's all
yeah,
going to be okay.
mm,
You know, and if they see stuff like that, and I guess it's nice that our kids see stuff.
yeah. Because
You
if we go back to what we spoke about last week when we said we've got to embrace the
know.
brilliance, right?
Mm. Mm.
And that is like a daily affirmation to say that I'm brilliant. I'm going to be brilliant today. Today is going to be a brilliant day
Yeah,
because I'm just going to be, I'm embracing the brilliance.
yeah, yeah.
And the work that takes to actually say that, you know, to be purposeful,
Mm.
we can't like, you, it's, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Keep saying that. And I suppose it goes back to when I said, when we started the show, and I said that, my father's words, the difficult conversation was that you have to work
Mm.
hard. Um, there wasn't a time when I could really continue that conversation to say, what does that work look like?
Mm. Mm.
But you kind of understand it as you're growing as an adult, and as you get older, and
Mm.
what the work look like. And it's not as straightforward as the working from 9 to 5. It's not as straightforward as going to work and being on time and getting the task done, ticking off all the tasks on your list. It's all of those things that we've got to do for our mental health and well-being
Mm.
that enables us to be present as a parent
Yeah,
and to fight against the odds of what we face outside, be it prejudice
yeah,
and and racism and all of those things,
yeah.
you know.
But sometimes it doesn't even need to come from the outside world, Kemi. I think for me, a lot of mine was from the community within that I'm from,
Mm, yeah,
because you're different.
yeah, you're different.
You know, because of that, that is always, you're always going to be, it's like I chose to bring up my kids a certain way and I got scrutinized for that. you
Mm,
know you, you don't need the outside world to tell you you're doing a bad job or a good job. People
mm,
around you are constantly going to say that to you.
yeah, and you're what you have to do the work against, like not making that, not taking that on. The
Yeah,
mistreatment that you get, the disappointments that you get, the disloyalty that you get from people that you trust, and
yeah, yeah, that's right, absolutely.
relationships with, and all of those kind of
Yeah,
things. The amount of grace that you have to give to someone, and the forgiveness you have to give to someone, so that you don't take on that hurt
yeah,
or work.
yeah, yeah, it is. it,
Mm,
it is, and it takes us a lot longer. It's, and I don't know if I've said this to you before. When you're growing up and you're growing up with parents that have gone through their own struggles, right? Then you become, and they, these two people decide to have kids, and what they intend to do, or what generally happens is they bleed all over the child,
Mm.
right? So this is a unhealed parents now bleeding all over the kid, right? So now what that child does is that child then grows up, then gets into a relationship, and then bleeds all over the person that didn't cut them in the first place.
So you think there's a cycle? It just creates a cycle, and it keeps repeating itself
Yeah,
until.
absolutely, until someone turns around and says, "Oh, wait, you know what? Ah, nah, I can't do this anymore.
Mm.
I'm done."
Mm. Mm.
Uh, and that person that says, "I'm done," is the one that breaks that chain.
Yeah, but then I think also, just going back on your point earlier of the self-awareness,
Mm.
because I think that's that is, well, is the work, the amount to take that time each day
Mm.
to really look at yourself
Mm.
and allow people to people that you trust, like and trust, to be able to help you through that process of maybe just holding the mirror up for you,
Yeah,
so that you could see yourself and see the flaws as well as all the amazing things about you as well.
yeah,
Us.
yeah. And the conversation with Shay last week was really good, because just that, looking at that brilliance, looking at your own brilliance and owning it,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
That in itself is hard work
Mm.
for so many people out there.
Yeah.
That is the hardest thing that I've got to do.
Mm.
Tell myself it's okay.
Yeah.
Hey, you got this. It's okay.
Yeah.
Um, but there's so many of us out there that struggle with that, owning that
Yeah.
pride in ourselves for the journey that you've come on,
Mm.
far you've the journey that you're on, and how far you've come.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, yes, interesting
It's
conversation.
a conversation. So it's been good. We spoke about having those difficult conversations with our kids.
Yeah.
And we realise, well, I think we agree that it is about having the self-awareness, um, two, being our authentic self with our kids as well, so they see the real us.
Yes.
And being intentional about it, making that time in the day, and being really kind of devices away and being present is really important, because this is where our children are coming for. The children come to their parents for those
Yeah.
emotional support. I would like to, if anyone has experience of fostering children, and being a a foster parent, I think would be really keen to have them on the show, to see what it's like.
Mm.
We see a lot of looked after children in our work as well.
Yeah.
Um, there were so many different family dynamics, and being able to, a child that is not adopted, have experience, care experience, I think would learn a lot and have a lot of empathy
Yeah.
for, knowing what it's like
Yeah.
on the side as well.
Maybe we should advertise it. We've got Saray joining us next Monday.
Right.
So maybe after that, after Easter,
Yep.
because we'll be around for a couple of weeks, right?
Yeah, so we'll put a call out on our social media that if you are a foster parent and you've got experience, or if you're a looked after young adult who's got a care leaver, it would be great to hear from you. But thank you.
Okay.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for everyone coming on the show, listening to us. For those of you that haven't seen the whole thing and joined us at the end, you can find us on our YouTube channel as well. Okay.
All right. See you soon. Good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.